Hello guys, let's have a look at our new chapter. Women change the world. Okay, it's our chapter 5 from class 7. So in this previous chapter we have studied about the women's role in the families and the the works they are do, and in this chapter we will learn about how women struggle for equality and some of the movements and different types of efforts made by women's movement to challenge discrimination in more recent years. Okay, and the next sections we have to focus is fewer opportunities and rigid expectations. So, friends, many people believe that women make better nurses because they are more patient and gentle. This is linked to women's role within the family. Okay. Similarly, it is believed that science requires a technical mind, and girls and women are not capable of dealing with the technical things, but instead the boys only can dealing with these types of technical things. And because so many people believe in these stereotypes, okay, many girls do not get the same support that boys to do study and train to become doctors and engineers. So due to these types of stereotypes which are believed by the people, the girls who cannot continue the education when compared with the boys. In most families, once girls finish school, they are encouraged by the family to see marriage as their main aim in life. And it is important to understand that we live in a society in which all children face pressures from the world around them. But even when we discuss about these types of issues on women, there are commonly or generally these types of pressures, a lot of pressures are faced by both the children, boy and girl in our society. And sometimes this comes in the form of demands from adults. So certain demands are from the adults, so that the both male and female, or boy or girl get pressurized at that time. At other times, they can just be because of unfair teasing by our own friends. So sometimes the children may get teased by their own classmates, and most of the times the boys are pressurized from their homes, as it is related with getting a job, paying salary, like that. Okay, after 18 ages, the family pressurizing the boys to get a job and gets a good salary. At that time the boy get pressurized. Then learning for change. Okay, next part, learning for change. Going to school is an extremely important part of our life, we know. As more and more children enter school every year, we begin to think that it is normal for all children to go to school. So we know today a lot of children are go to school, so it is a common case here. In the past, the skill of reading and writing was known to only a few. Most children learned to work their families or elders did. So most of the children in the earlier times who didn't get a good education, and instead they simply followed the works by their parents. For girls, the situation was worse. In communities that taught sons to read and write, daughters were not allowed to learn the alphabet. So after in the after so for the girls, the education was not compulsory for them. Instead, the family gave more preference for marriage for the girls. And in the 19th century, there was a lot of major changes were made, and schools became more common, and communities that had never learned reading and writing started sending their children to school. Okay, and there were a lot of struggles and movements there, so that a lot of people made their efforts to open schools for girls. and women struggle to learn to read and write. And now most of the people do not showing any hesitation to send their children uh, to continue their study. Then comes the schooling and education today. Okay, schooling and education today. Today both the boys and girls attend school in a large numbers. Yet as we will see, there still remain differences between education of boys and girls. Okay, we know there is every 10 years there is census is taken, to collect the information like population, total population of the country, and schooling age, and what work they do, like that. And also they measure the things like number of literate people and the ratio of men and women. During 1961, there were 40 percentage of male or boys get education, good education, and only 50% of the girls and women were illiterate. Okay, and in 2011 census, it is saying that 82% of boys and men get education, and also 65% girls are becoming literate. This means that proportion of both the men and women who are now able to read and have at least some amount of schooling has increased. So there is some improvement. Good improvement is there in schooling and education in this century. But as you can also see, the percentage of male group is still higher than the female group. The gap has not gone away. So still we can see major higher number, or a majority male is participation is there in democracy, parliamentary areas, Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha, like that. There women participation is very less. And the girls who okay, according to 2011 census, it is saying that mostly the Muslim girls are becoming illiterate when compared to SC and ST girls. Okay, while a Muslim girl is likely to stay in school for around 3 girls of from other communities spend around 4 years in an average. Okay, and there are several reasons why children from Dalit, Adivasi, and Muslim communities leave school in many parts of the country, especially in rural and poor areas. There may not even be proper schools, not teachers who teach on a regular basis. So we know still there is the children from Adivasis, the tribal areas, and the Muslim community, and the SC, that is categories. The children do not getting adequate education. There are several reasons are there, and one of the reasons is that there is no proper facilities, teachers, and on a regular basis in schools, so that it is hesitating them to continue their education. And most of the schools are far away from their homes, so they have to travel a lot of distances. In the case of Adivasi children, the traveling along the forest area is very difficult for them, and many families are too poor and unable to bear the cost of educating all their children. So we know there are certain private institutions are there, and to continue to higher education, there must be some amount of or greater amount of money is essential to continue the education. So that's why it is saying, that's why for that kind of communities it is unavailable, the education is getting unavailable for them. And in some of the cases, the teachers and the classmates are just teasing or discriminating the children, and so that they hesitate to go to school. And then comes the women's movement. Women and girls now have the right to study and go to school, and there are other spheres like legal reform, violence, and health, where the situation of women and girls has improved. So So there were several movements there, so that due to that movements, the there was some improvements in the health and education, the like areas of women. These changes have not happened automatically. Okay, women individually and collectively have struggled to bring about these changes. This struggle is known as women's movement. So certain women's movement were there, so that caused certain improvements in certain areas. Individual women and women's organizations from different parts of the country are part of the movement. Many men support the women's movement as well. The diversity, passion, and efforts of those involved makes it a very vibrant movement. So some men are there now to support them for the women movement. Different strategies have been used to spread awareness, fight discrimination, and seek justice. Okay, then you're saying about campaigning. Campaigns to fight discrimination and violence against women are an important part of the women's movement. Campaigns have also led to new laws being passed. A law was made in 2006 to give women who face physical and mental violence within their homes, also called the domestic violence, some legal protection. So these types of campaigns help women to achieve various actions, so they are discussed like that. Okay, through these types of campaigns they can made a lot of laws by the government, and it is also protecting them from domestic violence and also provide them legal protection. And also the efforts made by the women's movement led the Supreme Court to formulate guidelines in 1997 to protect women against the sexual harassment at the workplace and within educational institutions. So that these types of campaigns have a major role in lawmaking for the women by the Supreme Court also. And in the 1980s, for example, women's groups across the country spoke out against dowry deaths, cases of young brides being murdered by their in-laws or husbands, greedy for more dowry. So we know that during 1980s, there were major issues dealing with related with dowry deaths of women, and it is mainly due to the greedy of in-laws and husbands for money. Women's groups spoke out against the failure to bring these cases to justice. So there were certain women's group, they struggled a lot to remove these types of dowry deaths and dowry systems. They did so by coming onto the streets, approaching the courts, and by sharing information. So they struggled a lot along the streets and approached the courts and shared information to all. Eventually, this became a public issue in the newspapers and society, and the dowry laws were changed to punish families who seek dowry. So nowadays, still there are some of the cases are there, but mostly these get reduced. And then comes raising awareness. An important part of the women's movement's work is to raise public awareness on women's rights issue. So, an important important part of the women's movement work is to raise the public awareness. Okay, their message has been spread through street plays, songs, and public meetings. So certain songs and street plays, public meetings are there made by these women movements, so that they can ensure awareness for the public. Then the protesting. The women's movement raises its voice when violations against women take place, or for example, when a law or policy acts against their interest. Okay, so the women's movement raises its the women's movement raises its voice when violations against women are taking place in the society. Then public rallies, demonstrations are a very powerful way of drawing attention to injustices. Then showing solidarity. The women's movement is also about showing solidarity with other women and causes. Okay, friends. So it's all about our chapter. Then the glossary, stereotypes are there, discrimination, violation. So sexual harassment. Okay, this sexual harassment refers to physical or verbal behavior that is of a sexual nature and against the wishes of a woman. So it is sexual harassment is refers to physical or verbal behavior is related to, that is in a sexual nature and against the wishes of a woman. Okay, guys. It's very kind of you guys for your kind listening. See you again. Bye.